What up, everybody? It's your boy APT Songs here. And, let's go ahead and get to the news. So I didn't really do too much commentary on this during the course of the week because I really wanted to wait and see how things were going to play out. And there were a lot of people that were making, comments on Monday. I did my little music video parody just because in the moment I thought of it, this the first song I had in my head was Getting Jiggy with It. And I made a little song about it, but I didn't really put too much commentary up about it because I like to see things play out. And I think sometimes people say stuff early that could be, they're saying something in the moment that doesn't have enough stuff out yet to really make a conscious or really good analysis of what's going on. And I like to tend to wait a little bit. So I waited. I just say, let me see. I'll do some commentary on it next week and see what's happening. But then I just finished filming something in my garage and I came up here to just kind of scroll through Yahoo News. And this is the first thing I see. Will Smith has officially resigned from the Academy, will accept further consequences. I'm heartbroken. So let's go ahead and read through this real quick. And then I'll give my little 2 cents about this stuff. So here we go. So it says Will Smith is resigning from the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. He announced in a statement Friday, which, by the way, today's April Fool's Day. I thought this might be like a fake out, but it's on several different websites. So if this is some big plot employed to fool us all, in which case I will rescind this later on. But right now, this is what the story is. But says he will accept any further consequences the Academy's board deems appropriate after his Oscar slap of presenter Chris Rock. He says, I'll read the whole statement at the end. He says, Smith added that he directly responded to the Academy's disciplinary hearing notice and again apologized to the Academy, to Chris Rock, his family and friends, those in attendance. The Academy met on Wednesday in an emergency board meeting of its governors to begin its formal review process, and Smith could have potentially faced expulsion or suspension from the Academy, as well as potentially becoming ineligible for award consideration. It's possible, too, that the Academy could choose to revoke Smith's Oscar that he won Sunday for Best Actor, but such an outcome is unlikely and has never happened regarding an issue of conduct. The Academy board will again meet on the 15th to determine additional consequences as part of the formal review process. Smith's resignation is the latest in a full week of backlash since the Oscars, in which he reacted to a joke by Chris Rock about Jada Pinkett Smith by slapping him in the face and twice shouting, "Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth." It's led many to wondering what the actor's future in Hollywood will be, or if he can still be considered the same level of bankable A-list star. And it's led to further scrutiny of the Academy over why Will Smith was not removed from the Oscars after this incident. So here is Will Smith's full statement. He wrote and said, "I have directly responded to the Academy's disciplinary hearing notice, and I will further accept any and all consequences for my conduct. My actions at the 94th Academy Awards presentation were shocking, painful, and inexcusable. The list of those I have hurt is long and includes Chris, his family, many of my dear friends and loved ones, all those in attendance, and global audiences at home. I betrayed the trust of the Academy. I deprived other nominees and winners of their opportunity to celebrate and be celebrated for their extraordinary work. I am heartbroken. I want to put the focus back on those who deserve attention for their achievements and allow the Academy to get back to the incredible work it does to support creativity and artistry in film. So I am resigning from membership in the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and will accept any further consequences the board deems appropriate. Change takes time, and I am committed to doing the work to ensure that I never again allow violence to overtake reason." So that's a statement. And honestly, when I first looked at it, I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I'm like, what's going on? But then the second reaction I had was like deep sadness for this because, I look at this now as like one of those epically long, tragic, like Greek, I'm a theater guy, like Greek tragedies. Here's a guy that from the beginnings, he was in rap and he was trying to be an actor. Sorry, I got ribs cooking in the back. And he tried to become an actor, and he was on a sitcom where he was kind of like this goofy kid, and he was really having to constantly show that he could actually act. He was taking on roles that were challenging him. He was taking on action roles. He was putting in the work. So he now has amassed 29 to 30 years of work between his rap career and between his acting career to be able to do roles that he thought were going to win him awards, and they didn't, and he'd have to do more roles and get another nomination and didn't. So to finally get to the night where he is nominated for a role that he put all his hard sweat and tears into, and to go there that night after all this hard work, and he only had like 20 more minutes before he was going to win the Academy Award. He was there, he was at the finish line, and then his emotions got the best of him. And that moment ruined what should have been the great moment that came 20 minutes later when he won the Academy Award, and then all this brouhaha. And it's just sad because it's just that story's been played out in theater and tragedies and time again, where the hero almost gets what they want, and then something happens where it didn't get taken away from him in this case. But the point is, the celebration of that got taken away because of his own actions. And so, over the course of the week, there's been a lot of talk about, initially when this happened, there were a lot of admittedly women that came out that say, hey, he's protecting his women, and women need to be protected, and yada, yada, yada. And initially I had that similar kind of feeling, like, he's up there, he's saying this, he's trying to protect his wife's reputation, or, the fact that she feels some kind of way because she has alopecia and doing his thing. But the more I thought about it, I started to think, like, was he really protecting her? Because all I've seen this week are more jokes about Jada, more jokes about her alopecia, more people coming at her about, well, does she deserve to be protected because she did this thing to Will, and yada, yada, yada. So in the end, did she actually get protected from his actions? On top of, I look at, as a man, but really in general, I don't want to know just to gender, but especially if you're a man that's looking to be the leader of your family, and you're the guy that's trying to protect the reputation of the family, you have to think about any reaction that you have. How is that going to reflect not just upon you and your family, but upon how's it going to affect the other aspects of your life? So you got to think about, Will Smith is known globally. He works with a wide variety of studios here in Hollywood. He is the guy that people don't mind going to for stuff. He has projects that he's working on that don't just affect him, but affect the directors, the actors, the writers, all the people that are on these various sets. Think about the shows he's involved in. He's involved in Cobra Kai. He's involved in, obviously, Bel Air. He has a studio that he does movie stuff with for, like, King Richard. And so he's been working on all these various projects with all these other companies that he is the main reason these people are signing on to be able to work on these projects. Okay. So when he did his reaction, his emotional reaction, where he's, quote, protecting his wife, he's not thinking about, but how's that going to actually come back to bite them in the butt for their reputation? And also, how's that going to affect the money coming in? How's that going to affect how other people are going to view him? And by default of viewing him, how they're going to then view other studios and other people that are working with him. So it went beyond just, I'm going to protect my wife because Chris made a joke about her alopecia, which we don't even know if he actually knew about or not. Okay. So there were ways that Will Smith could have reacted that could have still had repercussions for Chris Rock, but wouldn't have had any fallout for him. Because I think about, like, the little alopecia that was an aside. When Chris said it, most of the theater, if you realize and look back, was actually booing at the joke. So already, if Will Smith had done nothing, the next day, there would have been some commentary on a website about, oh yeah, Chris Rock really made this crash joke about Jada, and it wasn't really good because here's why. And then the thing about alopecia would have still been out there, but it would have been all on Chris Rock. And Chris Rock would have looked like, not like the evil guy, but like the a-hole jerk that told a bad joke that was in bad taste. But because Will Smith slapped Chris, now it goes from Chris Rock said this thing that was really distasteful to, oh my God, how could Chris be slapped just for saying a silly joke? He should, like that shouldn't have been a thing. And so that's the reaction that happens now, is that everybody's jumping on Team Chris instead of being on a side where it's like, hey, maybe, like, he shouldn't have said that stuff. And so there were so many other ways that Will Smith could have reacted to Chris Rock's joke. When he got up there to win the Academy Award, he could have said, thanks for this award. By the way, Chris, that joke, my wife's got a thing going on that wasn't funny. We're going to talk later about what's going on. He could have met up with him at the after party and said, look, dude, like, I'm tired of you making jokes about my wife. What are we going to do? He could have gone to other producers and said, hey, Chris keeps making fun of my wife and I don't find it funny. So if you work with him, you can't work with me anymore. And you could have messed up his money that way and really had Chris get the point. But he didn't do that. And so There are going to be people that come out that say, why is this a big deal? And he shouldn't have had to quit the academy and all this other stuff. But I think what Will recognizes is that his reputation and what he's built up actually matters in the world of Hollywood, where money's got to be made off his name. If that can no longer happen and people are now afraid to work with him, then his name brand becomes shot. Is a shoddy name brand. And so at that point, you can't now think realistically that you're going to be able to go on sets and have people want to work with you. Think about it. Now he's in a place where, everybody thought good guy Will would never be this kind of person. But now that you don't know if he's going to be that kind of person, when he goes to set, if somebody has to come to him with bad news, is he going to slap them? If somebody says a joke that gets misheard and Will thinks it's towards him, or is he going to go over there and slap them? Like, nobody knows. But that's why you can't really do that. And even if he wanted to hit Chris, do it at an after party. Don't do it in front of the world to see on a national stage where not just us, but globally, you're going to be seen. Like that one clip just in this past week, I've seen more clips of Will Smith and that slap happening in a variety of different ways and a variety of different memes on YouTube, through memes, through TikTok, all over the place. So Will knows his reputation at this point is shot. And this is not to say that this couldn't be turned around, because realistically, honestly, at this point, he could probably take on mob roles now that people know he can slap people. It's like, hey, he could be a realistic mob figure. He could play Frank Lucas now, But for the immediacy of it right now, this is the thing that until it dies down, and that's going to be very hard to do because, we're still talking about when Crash won, even though we didn't think that should win, or, when the wrong movie got misnamed as the Academy Award winner. That was just light stuff. So somebody getting slapped in front of everybody on national TV is not something that's going to go away anytime soon. But I think he knows that enough to know that he needs to go away so they can have time to really, he has time to work on himself, but also so they can fix this narrative. So they can, if nothing else, let's be real, guys. I'm in Hollywood. People in Hollywood love a good redemption story. I look at when Mel Gibson had his whole tirade about the Jews and we thought he'd never get another acting role. And then he shows up in Daddy's Home too. Because there's going to be some kind of redemption arc that happens with, this is the part of the movie in life where the hero's down. He made a mistake. Everybody hates him. He's having to quit his job. It just things down and out. But give this a year. And I promise you, give it a year, maybe 2 years. Will Smith can come back in some capacity. He'll have some friend in Hollywood. It's look, dude, I can give you a role. It ain't $20 million. It'll probably be close to maybe $1.5 million, but it's a good role. It's a meaty role, and it'll get you back in the public's good graces. And that'll be the thing that brings him back. But he knows he has to go away now. He can't be in front of cameras. He can't, anything he does right now to try to justify what he did, even if he's saying, hey, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do that thing, I got triggered because of what Chris, no, nobody's going to care. All they're going to care about is that he slapped somebody and they don't want to work with him now. So he has to go away and allow this to get to a level where it has to get to a level where this happens, where other people in the media continue to make it such a big deal that we, the public, start to get tired of it and say, oh, you know what? They're making it such a big deal. Look, at the end of the day, he slapped Chris. Chris was standing there. He was fine. And so the media is blowing this out of proportion. And that actually needs to happen. So that way audiences will start saying, hey, look, we know Will Smith did this thing, but we miss seeing him on set. We miss seeing him in the movies. We miss seeing him rapping. We need to see him in some capacity. And then that'll make people want to give him a chance. But all that to say, in terms of today, this is very sad. It's very sad, and it sucks because he's one of my favorite actors. Even in the stuff where he's just kind of okay, just his charisma and charm was enough to make me say, this isn't too bad, My favorite song of all time is still Getting Jiggy With It. To this day, it's my all-time favorite song. And so it also goes to show you too that having the reputation of the nice guy, the guy that is always just the one that everybody wants to get along with and has no issues, that is a very hard facade to hold up. And, coming from a guy that back in my days in college when I was dating and I was just okay, I'll be the nice guy and all girls like me, yada, yada, yada. People actually become uneasy if you're too nice because they start to realize wait a minute, nobody I know in my life is ever all this nice all the time. Even people that I get along with on a regular basis, I will still occasionally be but this thing they're doing is pissing me off right now, or I don't agree with them in this part right now. So having the reputation of the nice guy Inevitably, what happens with all nice guys is they do that one thing wrong, or they bottle up the inner turmoil that they're having for so long that when they finally do show some kind of anger, it's usually inappropriate. Like, this is the case where Will Smith was mad at Chris about this joke, but it's also probably the result of Will Smith having to bottle up for years all the jokes, all the memes, all the various things over time that he's had to just kind of swallow and sit on, versus just like being able to react in the moment and not having the practice of taking time to figure out how to react to somebody when they're upsetting you or doing something, to where when this happens, he's hearing the alopecia joke and not thinking, wait, before I go slap this guy, do I even know if he knows about my wife's disease? Or does the thing that he did warrant the response I want to give? Like, it'd be different if Chris had jumped into the audience and smacked Jada Pinkett and then said the joke. Then if Will went up there and smacked, people would be like, well, that kind of sucks. It's now the Oscars is now a slap fest, but it's justified because Chris hit the first slap and he slapped his wife, and that's not cool. But that didn't happen. So Chris attacked, quote unquote, Jada with words. So the proper response is to, if you're going to respond, is to respond to Chris with words, to say something back, some kind of joke back to him, get up on stage during your Oscar speech and say some stuff. If you don't win the award, you know, the people are going to ask you on the carpet, what do you think about this joke? Yada, yada, yada. Say something back. But that's you have to measure what your response is with what the offense actually was. So a joke versus a slap, I'm sorry, you're going to lose out if your response is, this guy told me a joke, so now I'm going to slap. And also, I used to work in comedy clubs here in LA. I used to work at the J Spot Comedy Club, courtesy of J. Anthony Brown, and I did camera work there. And so I've seen comics go overboard. I've seen comics tell these jokes that are just the most offensive things in the world, and that should never be said to people. You know what happens if an audience member actually even starts to get up out of their seat and looks like they're going towards the stage? Security. Security gets called. Why? Because no comedian's joke warrants somebody doing a violent action towards that person. Does that mean that comedians don't need to learn to be, not, I want to say less offensive, but read the room and try, kind of recognize, like, when you're doing crowd work, maybe sometimes if somebody starts giving indications that they're sensitive about something, like you should not tell a joke, that should absolutely be a thing. And I'm all of the school like, hey, we have freedom of speech. You can say the thing you want to say, but you also got to be willing to take the reactions that come with that. But that said, the person that is the reactor also has to know that how they're going to react. If they react overboard, that's going to be seen now more serious than the joke. I'm looking at some of the comments. Somebody said everybody gets roasted at any comic event. Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because there were women comics that were hosting the event that were also saying, like, jokes that I was sitting on, like, oh my God, like, the person in the audience is there and they're saying the joke. If I was in the audience, I'd feel some kind of way about that. But of course, those are women. And there's a rule in the society, you're not supposed to slap women. So I get it. Because I put this this question on Facebook the other day. I said, you know, I'm just curious as to how this whole protect all women thing would have played out if a woman had been the one to tell the joke about Jada. Like, let's say like Wanda Sykes or Amy Schumer come out there and said the G.I. Jane joke to Jada. Would Will have then gotten up on stage and slapped Wanda Sykes in the face or slapped Amy Schumer in the face? Of course not. Why? Because she's a woman. So that's a whole different conversation to have about, like, why he thought it was okay to go up there and slap another man, another black man who is infinitely shorter than him, and therefore he knows he can get over on. Like, there's a conversation to be had about that too. But either way, the response was not appropriate. And I don't know what disciplinary actions were going to come from the Academy. I don't know which ones are going to still come from the Academy. But I will say I do give respect to Will for at least recognizing that this is probably the best time for him to step down and let the narrative get back to focusing on the Academy and the awards. Granted, it's too late for this particular award show, and I'm sure even by him resigning, it's going to create a bigger conversation amongst other various shows. Because I'm noticing it's 4:35 now, so any kind of daytime talk show that would have talked about this, they now all got to wait until Monday to talk. So they got a weekend for this to really be digested. So smart for him for doing it on a Friday. Not the best timing for being an April Fool's Day, but again, I think he was smart in recognizing he needs to step back. I really do hope he does the work on himself. And I hope also that there's some grace applied here, because really, you know, I saw this quote earlier this week. It said, we ultimately are not we are not we are not the sum of our worst actions. You know, I think if you look at Will Smith, he's 53 years old. He's been in the industry 29, 30 years. And out of all that time, he's literally spent a minute and a half doing a bad action. So he's rightfully being judged on this one action because it's pretty severe. But I don't think people should now think this is how Will Smith actually is. I think that some grace needs to be applied here. I think he does need to have time so he can actually show people that he's working on himself in the right way to where he can start building back that trust. I think that does need to happen. But I think that people need to also be looking like, you know, because I think about, you know, as bad as that is, if it was me that had done that, would I want to then be judged on that action and have all my stuff taken away from me and not be able to ever work ever in this town again? And the answer is no. I'd want to be like, I want to be able to show people that I'm actually working myself as a person and hopefully be able to win that back. Okay. Last thing I'll say, like I said, I don't want to comment too much about Will and Jada's relationship in general, because ultimately, you know, people have their opinions about how Jada has treated Will in the last few years, about the things that she's revealed, about the things she said about him on the Red Table Talk and stuff like that, the various entanglements she's been in. I'll say this, though. At the end of the day, if all that stuff is happening that Jada's done and he still continues to choose her, then it is his job as a man to protect her. Was this the way to go about protecting her? It was not. But that's the woman he chose. So however we feel about it, guys, he has to continue to protect her until such a time as he decides this isn't working out or I want to split it up. And could that possibly be a thing that happens? I don't know. And do I think that he should divorce her? Again, I don't know their day-to-day. For all we know, they could be cool with the open relationship. Like, he could be legitimately cool with it. Maybe he's like, hey, I cheated with Eva Longoria in Hitch, so I can't say crap about the guys that Jada gets with. Like, we don't know. I think he's better at being more tight-lipped than anything else if we're going that route than Jada is. But again, I can't judge that situation because everybody's got their own different stuff. Now, there's videos that have come out about how she actually reacted to the slap in terms of her laughing when Chris made the joke about, Will Smith just slapped the crap out of me, and she's sitting in her seat laughing. So who's to say if she approved it or not? I don't care. I just care in this particular situation about Will and about what his reaction is and about how it's being dealt with. And I think the Academy will have more to say about it. But I'm glad Will's taking this step, and hopefully some good in the end of all this will come out of it. I'm also interested to see at some point what Chris is going to say about it, whether he makes a routine about it, whether he actually gets to sit down with Will Smith. Obviously, there's a Red Table Talk that's going to come out because that's not Academy-based. So I think he can still go on his wife's show and talk about what happened, if that happens at all in anytime soon. But it's just all very interesting, and it's all very sad. And it's just like, man, you get to the finish line, and then you trip somebody else up, and then you still go get your award. And now you're sitting there with like, I got this award, but at what cost? And how did I now taint it? Because now I can guarantee you, anytime he looks at that Oscar, he's going to have to think about the fact that 20 minutes before that, he threw away his entire career. And that sucks. So that's all I got to say about this, guys. I'm APT Songs. I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts. So feel free to keep commenting down below about what you feel about the situation, what you feel should be done, and all that stuff, you know? So that's it. That's all I got, guys. I'm APT Songs, and I will catch you guys later. I'm out. Peace.